Hello. It's good to see you. Today we are back to read some more of this story that I wrote called Holiday. We're into part 2 now. We're on chapter 18. I do want to say though, I've had a few people ask me if I would do a Q&A on this story, and a lot has happened. And I realize that, and we haven't really done that. I haven't really answered too many questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the comment section open on this video. Spoiler alert, I don't know what people are going to say. If anybody, if you've already read it, like if you bought it online and you've already read it, just try not to spoil it. Try not to spoil it for anybody. But if you have questions about anything up to this point that I can answer without spoiling it for you, I will. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section and I will answer them if I can, but I don't want to ruin anything for you. There may be things right now that don't make a lot of sense, but they will make sense later. So I can't tell you everything. But if you have questions or you have comments, anything you want to say, just go ahead and put it down below. And that would be awesome. All right, so we are up to chapter 18 in part 2. Chapter 18. The trip from hell to earth seemed shorter than the trip to hell earlier. Lucifer, Aiden, and I all moved together upright like we were on an escalator or a moving walkway. Aiden held my hands and kept checking to see if I was okay. I was nervous because I had no idea where we were going, but I kept that to myself. I didn't want him to worry. The light around us faded and then came back gradually like we were watching a scene change in a play. We were standing in someone's driveway looking at their house. Lucifer asked me if the house looked familiar, and I said no. He pointed to the mailbox and told me to read the name on the side of it. Roberts, I said. The S sticker was peeling away at the corners. Aiden looked around and then back at me. Does that name ring a bell? He asked. I told him that it didn't. We walked up to the house onto the porch. I saw a couple of old rocking chairs and several stacks of dusty flower pots. One of the pots had a pair of cloth gardening gloves stuffed down into it. Anything? Lucifer asked. No. Maybe this wasn't a good idea, Aiden said quietly to Lucifer. I could try. Wait, I said, and I took a few steps toward the screen door. I touched the worn red paint on the wooden frame. A bit of the screen was pushed out at the point closest to the door handle. This, I pointed to the hole in the screen. I did this. Lucifer and Aiden stood there silently, waiting for me to continue. There's a bad feeling attached to it. Whoa. I needed a minute. All of a sudden, millions of memories came flooding back to me, and I started feeling dizzy. I heard Aiden ask me what I was feeling, but his voice was muted and echoed like he was in the bottom of a well. I grew up here, I stammered. Part of my life, this isn't where I always lived. I don't live here now, or I didn't before. Take your time, Lucifer said, but I couldn't. Everything was washing over me like rain. I couldn't slow it down even if I had wanted to. This is Grandma and Grandpa's house, I said, suddenly very excited to be there, like I'd been gone for years. I felt like I had been. I started to open the screen door, and Lucifer grabbed my arm. Remember what you are, he said. What you are currently. You're not Liddy Roberts right now, so you can't just walk in there and expect Warren to be, oh God. I gently pulled my arm out of Lucifer's grip and took a step back. Grandma's gone. She died. I felt a pain in my chest and wanted to cry. Aiden approached me. That's right, he said. What's her name? Sylvia. Sylvia Roberts. I ducked down a bit and tried to look in through one of the windows. I saw Grandpa sitting in the living room watching The Young and the Restless. Lucifer and Aiden looked in too. I laughed a little. Seeing him sitting there, watching that soap opera, it made the pain in my chest even worse. He hates that damn show, I said a little quieter. It reminds him of Sylvia, Aiden said. He wonders He wonders how she'd react to the stuff that goes on if she were here, watching it with him, I said. I can feel all that. God, it's incredible. Awful. Oh. I stood back up straight and rubbed my eyes. Lucifer asked me if I wanted to go in the house, but I said no. It felt wrong, like I'd be interfering with Grandpa's time with Grandma, though I'd be invisible and he'd never know I was there. We moved on to another house. This was a pale yellow 2-story place. It looked like a cracker box. Lucifer asked me again if it looked familiar. The memories came back even faster than the ones at Grandma and Grandpa's house. They came back as soon as Lucifer asked the question. I stood there in the grass, facing the house, with Lucifer and Aiden on either side of me. Do you want to go in? Aiden asked. No one's in there. I know. Do you know where your body is? My body? Lucifer stopped us. Let's work up to that, he said, and he approached the front door. Aiden and I followed him. He opened the door and gestured for me to go in, which I did. Aiden and Lucifer walked in behind me. I gasped at what I saw. The whole place was a mess. The furniture was all thrown about, drawers pulled out and dumped on the floor, random papers and decorative items everywhere. My framed pictures had all been smashed. I stepped back to take it all in, and Aiden grabbed my hand. We can fix this, he said quickly. It's no trouble. He waved his hand slowly at first, then a little faster, and we watched as everything rose up in the air. It all settled right back down where it was supposed to be. That's perfect, I said. You have a good memory. Do you know who did this? Lucifer asked. I walked into the kitchen. Phaedra was here, I said. She came here looking for Liddy. Liddy wasn't here, so Phaedra came to the conclusion that I was no longer here on Earth. I opened the refrigerator and saw a pack of bologna, some cheese, and 3 cans of Diet Coke. Aiden stood behind me and looked in over my shoulder, too. He snorted, and I looked back at him. What? Your food and drink selection leaves a lot to be desired, he said, one eyebrow raised. That's not all there is, I said, closing the refrigerator door and moving toward the kitchen cabinets. There's plenty more. I opened several cabinets and was greeted by walls of boxes of moon pies. Oh. You need to work on your nutrition when you get back, Aiden said. All those chemicals. Lucifer cleared his throat, and we both looked back at him. Why do you suppose Phaedra did what she did here? He asked me. She was angry, I said. She couldn't find me, and she couldn't see me anywhere anymore, which means I was probably gone. I felt a little dizzy and stopped talking for a minute. Aiden asked me if I was okay, and I told him that more memories were coming back to me. I saw Jerry in my mind, though I couldn't think of his name or how he was relevant to all of this at first. There's a guy, I said, and I pictured him looking one way at first and then changing. I pointed at Aiden. You must have been working with him, because I believe he looks totally different now, beyond anything he could have done on his own. Do you remember his name? Lucifer asked. I pursed my lips and stared hard at the floor. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Give me a minute. Jerry. It's Jerry. Jerry McAvoy. Oh, God, he's a jackass. I remember not liking him. Lucifer nodded. Good. I'm going to leave you two to finish this process now. I need to get back. Things seem to be moving right along. I'm glad to see it. You're leaving? I said. I thought This has taken up a great deal of my time, he said, giving Aiden a stern look. I do have other matters that require my attention. Aiden, I suggest you move her through the rest of the process and report back to me as quickly as possible. No extra trips or wasted time. You've caused enough inconvenience as it is. Do you understand? Aiden bowed. Yes, sir. I understand. We'll be back soon, I promise. Lucifer turned to me and did a little half bow. Portia. He then disappeared. I looked at Aiden once I was sure Lucifer was really gone. He's mad, I said in a whisper. Aiden gave me a tense little smile. Don't worry about it, he said. He's only mad at me. You haven't done anything wrong. I just hate the thought of him being mad at either of us, I said. What do you think he'll do? He won't do anything until we've cleaned up this mess. And after that, we'll see. I honestly don't know. I pulled him into my arms and gave him a long, tight hug. Tell him I'm responsible too, I said. Aiden pulled away slightly, just enough to look me in the eye, but still holding on to me. What? No, you're not responsible. How could you be? I kissed him. He kept looking at me like I was crazy. If he thinks I was in on it, maybe he won't be so hard on you. I'll take some of the blame. I don't care. I'll tell him myself. He knows who was involved and who wasn't, he said. I appreciate the offer, but he grabbed my hands. I don't regret any of my decisions when it comes to you. Remember that. None of this is your fault. None of it. I want you to remember that. He was being so serious all of a sudden. I got the feeling he was referring to something beyond the current situation with Lucifer, but my instincts told me not to push any further on it, so I didn't. We walked out of the house a few minutes later and stood in the front yard. I asked him where else we needed to go, and he said that would depend on what I could recall. Do you remember now what your relationship with Phaedra was like? He asked. You mean when I was here on Earth as Liddy? For starters, yes. I was so confused. She hated me, but I had no idea who she was. She was a stranger to me, but I kept seeing her everywhere. And then you... Oh, yeah, when you came into my room at the hospital. A hospital? Are you asking what a hospital is? Aiden asked. I shook my head frustrated. No, I know what a hospital is. Was I in a hospital? Aiden looked away. You were, for a short period of time. What for? Phaedra took you there and wouldn't let you leave. She tried to convince you that you were insane. She nearly managed to convince you that I was a figment of your imagination. Why would she go to the trouble to do all that? Do you remember? I concentrated, trying to come up with some sort of answer about her. I know that you two were a couple in the past, I said. I know that much. Your relationship with her ended before we met, so how... I realized that we'd already gone over all this, and I apologized to Aiden for rehashing everything. He said it was normal to go over things repeatedly. I could see why. Everything was happening like I was stuck in some kind of weird dream world where you couldn't always tell fantasy from reality. She hates me because I have you and she doesn't, I said simply. That's it. She did all this crazy shit because she's jealous. Aiden took a small step toward me and seemed to study my face. Is that all you remember? Why? Should I remember something else? He shook his head. No, that's it. I just wondered if there were any outlying details about the thing with her that you might have been confused about. Not that I know of, no. I looked around at my yard. Everything looks so dead this time of year. Look at how brown the grass is. Aiden looked around. It's not so bad. Are we going anywhere else, or do we need to get back? He stood there for a minute just looking at me. I shouldn't have given you the choice to do this, he said. I should have just left you in a suspended state in your body and handled it myself. Lucifer found out anyway, so I didn't even manage to avoid that. His face softened. I'm so sorry that I dragged you into this. I took his hands in mine and looked deep in his eyes. They were as clear and deep blue as ever. The color strikes me every time. I'd have been mad if you hadn't given me the chance, I said. Not right away, because I wouldn't have known any better, but later, once I was back home and I remembered everything, shit, I'd have jerked a knot in you. He laughed. All those years in the South have really started to rub off on you. Does it bother you? No, he said, and he kissed me. I love it. So, I shrugged. What do we do now? Do you want to go back now, or do you think it'd be helpful to see Jerry's place before we go? Jerry's apartment? I mean, what if Phaedra's there? Just hold on to me. She won't see us or know we're there. So we're going there, I said. If you want. I don't know. I feel scared all of a sudden. That's understandable, Aiden said, widening his eyes and making a funny, frightened face. She's scary. But if we hold on, he squeezed my hands, nothing bad will happen. Let's do it, I said. Where do you want to go? The roof? Let's go in the apartment. I have a feeling that's the best place. Right into the thick of it, huh? You know I like a good rumble. Aiden took a look at my house. You've been really happy here, he said. Not as happy as I could be. What do you mean? I smiled. You're not here with me. Not like you ought to be anyway. I felt a pain in my chest. I miss you. He hugged me. I miss you too, more than you could imagine. We both looked at the house again for the last time. Smells the same in there, I said. Every house has its own smell. It's not bad, it's just... I felt very sad all of a sudden. Aiden rested his hand on my shoulder. We'll get you back there, he said. You're not going to miss out on anything. This is the life that Lucifer wanted you to have, and you'll have it. You'll have no memory of all this. All this what? Don't take away everything. You won't remember any of the unpleasantness. I want you to have good memories. I kissed him. Then let me keep my memories with you. He smiled and looked into my eyes. You'll remember the good things, and you'll get on with your life as Liddy. I promise. We have to deal with this issue first, though. We left there and reappeared in the kitchen in Jerry's apartment. No one was in there. I realized, or I remembered, that seeing as an angel goes beyond your field of vision. When I held Aiden's hand, I could sense where people were, what they were doing, and what they were thinking. I'm glad that Liddy had no idea that Aiden could read her mind when they were together. Knowing some of the thoughts she had when she was with him, they could have been pretty embarrassing for her. It was daytime, which I knew from being outside at Liddy's house, or my house, but it was hard at that point for me to think of Liddy and me as being one and the same. I felt Jerry's presence, so I knew he was in the apartment, and he wasn't alone. Are we doing this now? I asked Aiden. No, we're supposed to report back once I think you're ready. Well, what are we here for then? I was hoping that coming here would help you remember more about Liddy's situation and... Wait. What? He's coming. From where? The bedroom. Jerry came walking up the hall, his flip-flops making an echoing slip-slappy racket in the hallway. I don't like him, I said without thinking. It just came out. Jerry came around the corner and Phaedra walked in right behind him. Aiden and I were standing side by side in the large open space in the kitchen. He gripped my hand a little tighter. Do not let go, he said quietly. Stay here beside me. Don't move. Phaedra moved in a straight, deliberate line like she was heading right toward us. She stopped maybe 6 inches in front of me, and we were face to face. For the first time in this incarnation as an angel, I felt like I was going to suffocate, like all the air was sucked out of the room and I was suddenly desperate for it. Jerry was looking in the refrigerator and saying something about a sandwich, but it was garbled. It sounded like he was underwater. I glanced at Phaedra, then looked away. She was just standing there, staring straight ahead, not saying a word. What is she doing? I said to Aiden without speaking. Stay still, he responded. Every memory of freezing while a hornet buzzed my head as a human came to the forefront of my memory. This is awful, I thought. Unbearable. Phaedra took a small step forward. We were practically nose to nose. I began to feel weak and I stumbled a little. Let's get out of here, Aiden said. Can she hear us? I replied by thought. She doesn't have to, Aiden said. She knows we're here. Come on. No, I said, feeling a little stubbornness come out of nowhere. Phaedra shifted on her feet and looked puzzled. I'm looking at this flyer, she said, and it says the gates open at 4. Is that right? Aiden and I looked behind us. We saw a Monster Jam flyer pinned to the cork board on the wall about 10 feet back. Oh, that's all, I started to say, but I never finished that thought. As soon as I turned back around, a million memories from the past came flooding back into my mind. I saw Phaedra and Aiden in those memories, and I became aware of things from our past that I hadn't known before this point. It was so overwhelming that I fell to the floor, but Aiden held on to my hand. What's happening? He asked me. I couldn't speak. I looked up, and Phaedra was still just standing there, staring straight ahead. Aiden had us out of there in a blink, and the next thing I knew, we were in a hospital. I was standing, but barely, holding onto both of his hands. We were in a hallway. He asked me again what I remembered, but I couldn't answer. Not right away. Memories were still coming back to me. Most of them had to do with Aiden and Phaedra and the things I used to know about their relationship. It's you and Phaedra, I managed to say after a few minutes. I'm remembering things about you and her. Aiden looked concerned. What exactly are you remembering about Phaedra and me? I don't know. I tried to let go of his hands, but he wouldn't let me. I just wanted to lie down and be left alone. Are you okay to walk? He asked me. I can walk, but I'd rather not. Is anything upsetting you? I'd like to get the image of you and Phaedra out of my head. That would help. You're just remembering things about Phaedra and me. Nothing else. The onslaught of new memories had almost stopped by this point, and I told him so. He wanted to go down the hall and show me one of the rooms, but he still insisted on holding both of my hands, which made walking down the hall kind of difficult. We stopped in front of a door, and he gestured to it. Does this look familiar? What, the door? Does anything here feel or look familiar to you? Not. I looked around. Not really. But you said I was in a hospital at one point. Not too long ago. That's correct. I looked around a little more. Not too long ago, you say. Okay. He watched me as I looked around, not saying anything. I spotted a crack in the floor nearby, running all the way over to the wall. That, I said, and I pulled Aiden over to it. I remember that crack, and there was a... Look, it's still there. I remembered seeing a broken half of a red M&M wedged into the crack up against the wall, and there it was. I saw that one day while I was here, I said. After that, I started looking for it every day to see how long it took the cleaning people to get it. I guess they never did. Not yet, anyway. Where were you going when you were in the hallway? We went down there. I pointed back toward the way we had come. She acted like a therapist. Therapy. Yeah. She managed to convince me that you weren't real. None of our experiences together ever happened. I'm sorry about that. You have to know that I would have been here to stop her if I could have. She had me in a suspended state at Jerry's apartment. I squeezed his hand. I know. She didn't completely convince me that you weren't real. I winked at him. I wouldn't be here right now if she had. Aiden said that we should go in the room. He let go of my left hand just long enough to open the door and gestured for me to go in first. No one was in the room. The bed was made and everything was very neat and tidy. I held his hand and walked over to the far wall and touched it. We were both in here, I said. Right here. I was sitting on the floor and you were talking to me. You laughed at one point and said you didn't know how to fix the situation we were in. I felt something cold, which is odd because as an angel, I typically don't feel temperature. It made me shiver a little. Aiden looked concerned. What's wrong? It feels cold in here all of a sudden. All over? Like my whole body? Yeah. He gripped my hands tighter. Stay close. Can she not give us 5 damn minutes somewhere? Good God. It may be nothing, but hold on to me regardless. I'm not taking any chances. What could she do that you're so afraid of? He looked around the room for a second and then back at me. Phaedra has more power here than we do, as you know. She has the ability to take us away from here and detain us, but she'd have to catch us individually. That's why I want you holding on to me with both hands at all times. That way, even if she shows up here, she can't take you. Or you. Or me, that's right. I looked back toward the bed and nodded at the floor in front of it. She was right there, lying on the floor, I said. In the bed. Oh. That's where I did it. That's where I died. It is. I was so scared. But you trusted me. You were very brave. I had no idea where we were going, but I did trust you, which is funny because at that moment, I still wasn't 100% sure you were real. I did the best I could to convince you in the small amount of time I had. What would you have done if I had refused to help you? I'd have no choice but to go back to hell and ask Lucifer for help. It didn't matter ultimately. He found out anyway. I'll find out later how he's going to deal with me. With us, I said. Like I said, let me take some of the blame. We've gone over that. It won't work, and I wouldn't let you do it anyway. Can we sit on the bed for a minute? We walked over to the bed and sat down. It had a pretty patchwork quilt on it, mainly red and blue in color. You kissed me here for the first time, I said as I recalled it. As Liddy, he said, and then paused before adding, That's right. It's a weird relationship you have with Liddy, isn't it? What do you mean? You came to see her all the time without her knowing. I had to do it that way, Aiden said. I wasn't supposed to interfere with her life. Right, so you did that. And then, when you did make your presence known, both times, things went absolutely nuts. Totally off the rails. That makes the one thing about Liddy really interesting. What one thing? She loves you. Like, she really loves you. How did that happen? He squeezed my right hand. She couldn't help it, he said. I'm irresistible. You must be for her to go through all that crazy shit and have any feelings for you at the end of it. I felt something like a cold gust of air on my back and immediately stiffened up. Cold again, I said. What, you're cold again? I felt a cool breeze, like a draft. Where? My back. I looked behind me to be sure there was nothing there. Maybe we should get out of here. Has this helped you at all? Oh, yeah. I think I'm ready. He lowered his head a little and looked at me. Do you understand what we're coming back here to do? I told him I did. Honestly, my whole opinion of this whole mission was that everybody was overthinking it. We're doing a smash and grab, I said. We're snatching her up and yanking her out of here. It's really not that big of a deal. The whole thing probably won't take more than 10, 15 minutes tops. You need to understand the gravity of the situation, Aiden said. You cannot let her touch you, not even for a single second. She's already been able to affect your memory just by being near you. That should give you some idea of how much she can do. Aiden, I know. I'll hold on to you. We'll grab her and we'll take her away so Lucifer can detain her. It's okay. But can we do one more thing before we go? What's that? Can I see it? He sat up a bit. Are you sure you want to do that? What's wrong with wanting to see my body? Nothing, but you... I started standing up and pulled him up with me. Come on. How often does somebody get a chance to do something like this? Let me see it. We left the room and walked back down the hall. I asked him how he stored it, and he said he left me on the floor in the janitor's closet. I came to a dead stop when he said that. He stopped too. What is it? He asked. The janitor's closet? Really? You couldn't find a better place? I had to put you out of the way where no one would find you. The janitor could find me. I disabled the doorknob. What if they needed something out of there? They'll find a way in eventually. I didn't have much time. I put your body where I could on short notice. Can we at least take a minute to move it somewhere better? Like where? I was genuinely stumped. Every nice place I could think of carried a risk of someone coming along and finding it. Ultimately, I gave in and said we could leave it where it was. Hopefully, it wouldn't have to stay there too much longer anyway. We continued walking down the hall and came to a stop in front of a rusty metal door with a crumpled doorknob. I looked it up and down. I muttered. Nice. Again, Hayden said with a bit of irritation, I was pressed for time. I'm just kidding, it's fine. We walked through the closed door. At first, what I saw on the floor looked like a colorful stuffed animal slumped over on itself. It made me think of a carnival prize. My legs were on the floor, sticking out straight. Little gripper hospital socks were on my feet, and my head and torso were covered by a silky fabric. I knelt down, and Aiden, still holding my hands, knelt down with me. Do you think we're okay to hold hands just normally for a little bit? I asked. This is kind of awkward. I'm not taking any chances, he said. She could be here any moment. Aiden, you can hold on to my shoulders. It'll just be for a minute. Please. He gave me a look like he wasn't sure, but he did it. He moved around behind me where I was knelt down on the floor and placed his hands on my shoulders. How does she look? He asked me. I can't really see it with that sheet thing covering it. He nodded, looked at me, and then looked back at the body. The silky sheet slowly slid off to the side. We can't leave it uncovered for too long, he said. The cover preserves it. The body twitched and it startled me. I also noticed that it appeared to be breathing. It's alive? I said. It's in a suspended state, a deep sleep. It's just waiting for you to come back to it. I can move it, I said, suddenly remembering my ability. I looked back at Aiden. I have the power. I can manipulate things just like you. He smiled. Of course you can. You're just like me. Just like you. I closed my eyes for a moment to concentrate, then reopened them. I want to see my face, I said, and my body slowly sat up straighter. The head raised up and faced me, eyes closed. It was amazing and creepy at the same time. Keep it seated, Aiden said. I moved in a little closer. Aiden leaned in with me, not letting me go. My face. Look, I have wrinkles around my eyes and mouth. You do. Can I? I reached out my hand and gently touched my body's left cheek with my fingertips. It's warm, I said. Warm and soft. It's sleeping, like I said. It's definitely alive. I laughed a little. This is so weird. I feel like I'm looking at a wax dummy of myself, but it's not me. I'm me. I don't look like that, but I do. Or I have for the past, 30 years or more? Almost 40, Aiden said. It was an interesting thing, being face to face with my own body. It looked like it could come alive at any second and start talking to me. I was aware that we didn't have much time, as far as we knew, but I was mesmerized. I didn't want to leave that musty little janitor's closet. Look at it, I said, touching my body's lips and chin. I've been walking around in this thing for years. Aiden's hands slid down my shoulders, and he rested his head on my upper back. I felt a sadness ripple through me. What's the matter? I asked. I'm so sorry. The body twitched and the arms reached out for a few seconds. The sudden movement made me jump. I asked Aiden what he was sorry for, and he didn't answer me right away. I crisscrossed my arms in front as if I was going to hug myself and grabbed his hands. None of this should have happened, he said. I'll never forgive myself for what I've done to you. You haven't done anything, I said. Nothing we can't fix anyway. There's no need for you to beat up on yourself over anything. We'll deal with Phaedra, and we'll put me back in this body, and everything will go back to normal. You asked me once if I'd ever sell my soul to the devil if I could, if there was anything I'd sell it for. I said there was something. I'd sell it to keep any of this from happening. I'd sell it to go back and change things between Lucifer and God. How would you have done that? I don't know, but somehow I'd at least have to try, for your sake and mine, for everyone. I thought about it for a moment. Then, but if you did that, there'd be no hell for you to go to. What would Lucifer do with your soul? That's the loophole, he said, laughing softly. More like a paradox, I said. That's dangerous shit. He wrapped his arms around me and hugged me tight. I never meant for any of this to happen, he said. It was supposed to be fun. A fun time. I know. We heard faint footsteps coming down the hall. Before we could react, the door blew off its hinges and slammed against the far wall. Chapter 19. Phaedra had felt Aiden and Portia's presence in Jerry's kitchen, though she couldn't pinpoint their exact location in the room. She came to a stop directly in front of Portia merely by chance. They were there, and then they were gone. She felt their absence from the room when they left, and it was anyone's guess where they could have gone. Phaedra had to think fast. She left the apartment without saying a word to Jerry and immediately appeared at Liddy's house. No luck. She checked Liddy's grandfather's house in Moses Cone Hospital. She felt their presence there, then went straight to Pure Platinum, where Four was playing pool with a couple of the bouncers. He waved his pool cue in the air like a large magic wand when he saw her. "My lady," he said, bowing low and making a flourish with the stick. "To what do I owe this?" "Is your car here?" she asked. "My car?" "Your car. Do you have a way to travel?" Yeah, it's around back, but we..." She grabbed his pool cue and tossed it onto the table, knocking the balls around. The bouncers watched her do this, but knew better than to say anything. Four just stood there confused. He started to ask her what was going on, but she took his hand and started pulling him toward the exit leading to the back parking lot before he could speak. They moved quickly down the hallway toward the back door. "Do you still love me?" she asked. "Yeah, but Are you still willing to do anything for me?" Four stopped and refused to let Phaedra pull him any further. He gave her a suspicious look. "Tell me what it is you're about to have me do." He lowered his voice and added, I love you and all, but I don't want to kill anybody if that's what you're thinking." She looked him up and down with a sneer. "I don't need you to kill anybody. I can handle that myself. Can we go now?" "Well, what is it then? You asked me if I'd still do anything for you. So what? What is it?" "Just come with me. We're going to go deal with a little something. I promise you won't have to kill anybody. You're going as my support. I'll handle everything." She gently pulled his arm. "Come on, okay? We're going to take a ride." "Where to?" "Moses Cone." "Moses Cone? What for?" "Do you trust me?" "I trust you. That's all I need to know for now. Let's go." Four was still hesitant, but he agreed to drive to the hospital. Phaedra asked him to get there as quickly as he could. He parked right in front of one of the back entrances in the parking deck, and Phaedra took him inside. They took the elevator up to the 5th floor. They exited the elevator and went left. Four looked around and didn't see anyone else on the floor. "Where are we going?" he said, almost in a whisper. "Is somebody staying up here that we need to see?" Phaedra slowed her pace and seemed to be concentrating on something. She told Four to be quiet. They came to a stop in the middle of the hallway. Four squirmed around, trying to stay quiet, but he couldn't. "Is that lady here? Liddy?" "Shh!" Phaedra continued walking again after a moment, holding on to Four's hand and gently pulling him along with her. He knew Aiden and Portia were there. She could sense their presence nearby. The sense grew stronger as they walked down the hall toward Liddy's former room, and she expected to find them there, but as they reached the janitor's closet, she knew they had gone far enough. She stopped, and Four opened his mouth to speak. Before he could, Phaedra ran the palm of her hand across his lips, and his voice fell silent. Nothing came out of his mouth, no matter how hard he tried. His eyes were wide with panic. Phaedra shook her head at him as a warning to stay still and calm down. He made a move to run away, but she held on tight to his wrist. "You love me," she whispered. "You do love me." Four calmed down and pointed at his mouth and throat. "It's okay," she whispered. She held on to his wrist and moved him back behind her, telling him quietly to stay back there. She studied the door to the janitor's closet and had a moment of hesitation. Then she focused on the door even harder. Here we go. With great force, the door flew off its hinges and blew back, hitting the wall, barely missing Phaedra and Four. It slammed to the floor. Four was terrified, focusing on the door and the damage that its force had done to the wall, but Phaedra was looking into the closet, a smile on her face. "I found you." The shock of the sudden noise had caused Portia to lurch forward out of Aiden's grip. He immediately grabbed her hand, and Portia scrambled over to Liddy's body to reach his other hand. They both stood up as quickly as they could. "You shouldn't have lingered so long," Phaedra said. "It's almost like you wanted to be found." She looked down at Liddy's body on the floor in the closet. "Oh, look at that. I figured you'd have moved it somewhere away from here." She made a move to approach, and Aiden told her to stay back. "Or what?" Phaedra said. "What could you possibly do that would make things worse than they already are? Lucifer's coming. I know where this is headed." "You stay away from her body," Aiden said, gripping Portia's hands tightly. "I don't care about her body," Phaedra said, holding Four's hand and swinging it playfully. Aiden had been so focused on Phaedra that he hadn't even noticed Four. He was standing to her right, but slightly behind her. Four looked back and forth from Phaedra to Aiden, eyes wide, still unable to speak. "Get away from her," Aiden said very suddenly, speaking to Four. "Get out of here." "What's going on?" Portia asked. "Why is he here?" "Go!" Four made a move to run, but Phaedra held on tight to his hand, yanking him to the floor. "He loves me," Phaedra said, pulling Four back up to his feet. "He loves me." "No!" Aiden shouted. Phaedra pulled Four in close to her and kissed him. Four made a shrill, piercing sound like a scream, and his face and neck exploded in white light. Aiden pulled Portia back, ready to make their escape from there, but he was too late. Phaedra immediately dropped Four's lifeless body to the floor and sprang forward, grabbing Portia out of Aiden's hands and vanishing with her into thin air. We're going to stop there. That is the end of chapter 19. That's only 2 chapters, but those chapters were a little bit longer than normal. So that is as far as we're going today. So again, if you have any questions or comments about the story thus far, please feel free to leave a comment below. I would love to see what you have to say. I would love to hear what you think of it so far. We're on page 666. We're going to start on page 666 next time. Ooh, creepy. All right. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon.